The Treasurer Scott Morrison will release a Deloitte report today, the latest in its Building the Lucky Country series. And with me is economist and author of that report, Professor Ian Harper. Professor Harper, thanks for your time. Your argument in this report, in just a snapshot, is essentially that cities, our regions, if we get them right, could be much more beneficial to our economic productivity than, say, tax reform, for example.
Well, that's right, Kieran. We've got to get all the levers working for us as we come up out of the mining boom. People talk about tax policy, there's competition policy. What we're saying in this report is that getting our cities and regions working for us is another great lever of prosperity, potentially.
This is something that the new Prime Minister has spoken about. In fact, in his reshuffle, appointing a minister for the urban environment for cities. Do you welcome that initiative? What more needs to be done as well? I know Labor committing to that $10 billion infrastructure bank in the last week or so as well. Do you welcome that sort of focus from the two major parties?
We certainly welcome that focus. We've been working on this report since February, so we were delighted when, as you say, the administration changed and a minister for the cities and built environment was actually appointed. The government, as you point out, and also the opposition get this. Kieran, governments typically do get the idea that by investing in place, making cities and regions work, you can lift people's living standards. The key in this report is to point out that you've always got to trade that off against livability. So, yes, when we get together in places, we raise our productivity and living standards, but we can also trip over each other and make it very difficult to enjoy living in these places. Increasingly in the knowledge economy, these places have to be attractive places to live as well as productive places to work. And getting that balance right is the key. We're in this report pointing out that business has as much to gain from getting these places to work as governments do. So it's a call for collaboration between business and government and communities.
And as you look around the country, what cities, what examples are there of those that have unlocked that potential?
Well, it's interesting, Kieran. In the report, we identify 5 major regions for Australia, essentially inner cities, suburbs, outer suburbs, regional cities, and then rural and remote Australia. And then we map those 5 areas against 10 dimensions of prosperity. What we're not saying is that building cities is all about making high-paying jobs. That's clearly important, but it isn't all about that. There are another 9 dimensions that we look at which essentially describe what people would value as prosperity in the broad. And different parts of Australia start at different places in respect of those 10 dimensions of prosperity. So when you're thinking about how you'd grow that, you'll recognise where you start, where your strengths are, and where your weaknesses are, and what you might do to go from there. So it isn't just about the big cities. It's also about Australia's regional towns and remote areas.
Just finally, Professor Harper, in some cases, have we left it too late in terms of some of the cities, the gridlock we see on the roads, for example?
I don't think so at all. I think that we've really only just begun to sort of think about this more seriously, and all the time technology is changing. The gridlock that we see now, yes, it's a problem, but we're certainly addressing that. We can try to deal with that with more infrastructure investment, and we need to do that. But let's recognise that technology is advancing all the time. Even if you're thinking about driverless cars, people talk about that turning up within 5 to 10 years, but even short of that, using apps in order to determine the most efficient route to take through the city. When your public transport, your tram or your train is going to turn up. All of these things help us to use the existing infrastructure more efficiently. And that is part and parcel of the solution to what we're talking about here. It is about governments, businesses, communities and individuals working together, collaborating to make our cities productive places to work and livable, pleasant places to live.
Professor Ian Harper from Deloitte Access Economics, thanks so much.
Thanks, Kieran.